Hi everyone, my name is Maxwell Njoroge. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all of you and also to welcome the Dog TV Kenya to my kennel. My kennel goes by the name Genesis Prime Kennel. It is located in Kiambu, specifically a place called Kiamombi, which is just off Committee Road on your way to Kahawa West. Currently I have the South African Boerboel and I have the Caucasian of Chaka. I started breeding in around 2016 and I started with the short-coat German Shepherd. My breeding story is quite funny because I started interacting with dogs when I was in high school, and during the holidays when we used to close school, there's a neighbor of ours who had a chicken and pig farm. And during the holidays, I could go to his farm and help him clean the chicken houses, help him clean the pig houses. And also it happened that he also had these huge German Shepherds that he used to use for security. So as I was also helping him taking care of the chickens, I could also help him cook for the dogs, feed the dogs, walk the dogs, wash the dogs. And that is how I started interacting with the dogs. And so I did that for some few years with him. And then it reached a point where these dogs were now ready to breed. And he promised me that he's going to give me one puppy when he does the breeding, because he wanted to give thanks to the kind of work that I was doing for him, because I could help him to clean the chicken houses and the pig houses. His German Shepherd gave birth to 10 puppies. And I kept asking myself, where will he take all these other puppies? Because I've been helping him taking care of the dogs, and I knew feeding the dogs was very expensive. So when I arrived at his place that day, I found 2 British men at his place. And the British men were also interacting with the puppies. I actually found the British men were actually buying the rest of the puppies, because one British guy was taking 4 puppies, the other one was taking 3 puppies. So that is when I realized that this guy keeps the dogs for security. The dogs can also earn him something. And that is when I realized you can actually make something by just keeping the dogs. So I got the female puppy. I took care of the puppy until the puppy was around 18 months. And then when it reached the time that I wanted to breed the dog, I did some research in Facebook, and I found some few breeders in Kenya who had very nice males. So I took my female to the German Shepherd. Then I got the first litter. I was able to rehome them, though it was a bit challenging because it was my first litter. So I had some few challenges because I didn't know how to raise puppies. I didn't know when to vaccinate the puppies. But the guy who gave me the puppies, my friend who gave me the first female puppy, he guided me on how to feed the dogs, on how to feed the puppies, on how to vaccinate them. So through the way that I was also interacting with some few breeders when I was looking for the male, I also got a network where I could share where I could also take the pictures of the puppies and also the pictures of the mother, and I could share these pictures to the breeders that I had met on Facebook, and they could also help me find the clients that I could rehome the puppies to. By building the network through Facebook, I was also introduced to breeders who are breeding Boerboels, and I came to realize that I am much more into big dogs than the smaller dogs or the average size dogs. And the first time that I interacted with the Boerboel, I actually felt that the Boerboel actually suits or feels that part of me that really loves big dogs. And so the following year, it was around 2018, so that is when I got my first Boerboel. After breeding the German Shepherd the second time, I was also able to rehome the puppies. Then using the cash that I had got from rehoming the second litter of the German Shepherd, I bought my first Boerboel. But now, when I was getting this first Boerboel, I think I didn't do the research very well when I was looking for the Boerboel. The breeder told me that he had vaccinated the puppy, and he also had a vaccination record showing that the dog was vaccinated. When I came home with the puppy, I stayed with the puppy for around 2 weeks, and then I realized the puppy is not feeling well. I called a vet that I was using to vaccinate the previous German Shepherd puppies that I had. And when the vet arrived, he looked at the symptoms, and then he told me that this puppy is most likely suffering from parvovirus. And I asked him, how can the puppy be suffering from parvovirus? And I already have a record showing that this dog was fully vaccinated. All the vaccinations were done. All the deworming were done. So in my position, I knew I was taking a very healthy dog. So it told me to take the dog to Kabete, where he could get further treatment, because the condition that the puppy was in, it was in a very bad condition, and it needed to be put in ARVs and also to be watched by the doctor throughout. The dog was admitted, and then after 2 days after the dog was admitted, I was given the sad call that every dog lover gets, that your dog didn't survive, your dog passed away. And I was so sad because it was my first Boerboel. I had really high hopes in the dog, and I had really spent a lot of money in buying it, because the guy actually was telling me the dog was registered. So I knew I was getting a registered dog, and most of the time registered dogs are a bit expensive. So from then I knew my Boerboel breeding program had been cut short, because it was my first Boer. So you can imagine starting something and then on the first attempt it fails. So I was really disappointed. So I liaised to the vet. After the vet did some analysis, he told me that this dog was not vaccinated well. Or maybe the breeder started the vaccination, but he didn't finish the vaccinations. So we called the breeder with the doctor, and after so many questions from the vet, the breeder actually admitted that he just did 1 vaccination of parvo, and the rest of the stickers, I don't know where he got those, because when you vaccinate a puppy, you always put a sticker on the vaccination card and a stamp. The vet puts the sticker on the vaccination card and a stamp signifying that that dog has been vaccinated, and it has been vaccinated by a registered, recognized vet. So I didn't know how he got those stickers and the stamp in that vaccination card, but the vaccination card was showing the dog was vaccinated. So after the first Boerboel passed away, I now had to think of a way of getting my second Boerboel, because for me, I love dogs not because of making money from them. I love dogs as a passion. Actually, the death of the first Boerboel actually motivated me to get another Boerboel, because I felt the need to replace that dog. But now I had a challenge, because all the money that I had gotten from homing the German Shepherds, I had used that money to buy my first Boerboel, and also for the treatment of my first Boerboel when it was in the hospital. So I had no money left to buy the second Boerboel. So I had to find a way to source the finances, and the closest person who could actually assist me with the finances is actually my mom. And considering also I was just from high school, so I didn't have a job. So convincing my mom to buy me another dog after the first dog died, it was really hard, because I had bought that dog at a very expensive price. Now convincing my mom again to get money from her pocket to buy me another dog that could eventually die again, it was actually a challenge. So it took me around another 1 year to convince my mom to buy me another dog. What I actually did so that I could convince her, I could actually take her to visit other dog breeders that I had researched in the Facebook. And from there, that is when I started the Boerboel breeding. So in my experience, the Boerboel is a very hardy dog. The Boerboel also has a very balanced temperament. It can be used for both security, and also it can be a good pet dog because of the well-balanced temperament. It all depends on the socialization. You have to socialize your dog early if you want it to be a pet. If you want it to get used to your children, your family members, you have to socialize the Boerboel from a young age. Yeah. As you can see, my Boerboels are very healthy. They have a nice size. This comes from actually feeding them very well. And more of it comes from selecting a good lineage, but also feeding is also a very key point. So for me, I normally feed my adult dogs twice per day. The serving of the food that I could give once, I split the serving, I give it twice. When you also actually do some research, you'll find that when you feed a dog a lot of food at once, most of it goes to waste. So to avoid this wastage and to also give the dog enough time to absorb the nutrients into the body, I split the food twice. I give my dogs, my adult dogs, food in the morning, and I also give them food in the evening. So I normally give them rice, very clean rice, and I also give them chicken heads, which I source from farmers. It's actually a very clean meat. And we also add some soup to the meat. Soup is also good for the dogs. I also do kibble, high quality kibble, because when I feed the rice and the meat, that is mostly starch and protein. So I do supplement with some little kibble because kibble is balanced. So the dog gets starch from the rice, proteins from the proteins and phosphorus, and some little phosphorus from the chicken heads. But when you supplement with kibble, the kibble has all the nutrients that the dog needs. So the dog ends up getting all the nutrients. And every 3 times a week, I also supplement with vitamins and calcium supplement. I don't overdo it a lot because when you give so much supplement of calcium, it may actually bring some bone problems to your dogs. So you supplement with a good amount. And I also add olive oil for their skin, for their skin to look a bit shiny and clean. Yeah, so that is how I normally feed my adult dogs. And when I have puppies, I usually feed the puppies 3 to 4 times a day. The same way I split the food for my adult dog twice. I split the food that the puppies will eat once. I normally split the food 3 to 4 times a day, so that the puppies can get enough time to actually absorb all the nutrients. Most of the food doesn't go to waste. So guys, I would like to take you to my kennel and show you how we normally feed the dogs and what we feed the dogs and why we normally feed the dogs. That's the specific foods that we normally feed them. So guys, welcome. I can go take you through as I also show you some of my dogs. Welcome back. I would like to show you how I normally feed my dogs. I normally feed them three types of food. One is rice, one is meat, and one is kibble, high quality kibble. So guys, I'm going to take you on the process of how I serve for them. And so guys, so this is what I usually do first. I make sure the plates are, all the bowls are clean. So I have to wash them. And then each dog is served in its own bowl because some of them fight. They don't like to eat. They don't like to eat together. So I usually serve each dog in its own bowl to avoid such fighting. And so the first serving I usually start with rice, which is very clean rice. It has already been cooked. I serve each dog 1 serving of this per dog. So this is rice, which is mostly starch. Starch is also very good for their health. Now, there is one dog I'm not giving rice because she just had puppies, and unfortunately we lost the puppies. So the dog is a bit depressed and she's a bit low on the appetite side. So I'm trying to give her a bit of more of kibble and meat, because when I add some rice to it, she's actually selecting the meat and the kibble and leaving the rice. So because now she's a bit stressed, we try and work with what she feels like eating until she becomes better. So this is the chicken heads that we have sourced from the farmers. It's
it's mostly proteins and a little bit of phosphorus, a bit. So for each dog we normally give 6 heads. So I'm going to be starting with I'm going to be starting this for Ghost. So 1 head, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the remaining chicken heads, we are going to give them for the serving of the evening. So as I said, we are giving 2 servings in the morning and in the evening. So we usually cook once a day in the morning, but the food we normally split. Half of it we give in the morning, half of it we give in the evening. So next we are going to put kibble and vitamins and calcium supplement. Next guys, we are going to add the kibble and the vitamins and calcium supplement. I usually measure them with a small spoon. I'm going to show you. I usually measure with that spoon so that I give the dog the right amount. I don't want to over supplement, and I also don't want to under supplement. That is the right amount of supplement that I usually use. So we are going to start first with the kibble. I usually use high quality kibble that is well balanced in nutrients, because as you can see this is starch and proteins. Then I added the kibble, which is balanced to make sure that the food of the dog is a whole meal in general. So for the kibble I usually measure a small amount. I don't give it a lot. I try to avoid the dog from becoming overweight. So small amounts in the morning, small amounts in the evening. I usually try and give around 100 grams per serving, 100 grams in the morning and 100 grams in the evening. I usually use a serving cup. It's labeled per grams. So I make sure I measure 100 grams of the kibble. So guys, next I'm going to put olive oil. I usually use the same measuring spoon like the vitamins and the calcium supplement. So I give this olive oil 3 times for only 3 times a week. I measure 1 spoonful for each dog. So once we are done with the olive oil, we now mix the food with some soup. So now we add the soup. We mix the food with the soup. And I normally give half a tin of soup per dog. I don't do a lot of soup because this soup also contains proteins. When you give a dog when you give a dog a lot of proteins, you might find that the dog might get stomach upsets, which might lead to diarrhea. And biologically, when a dog diarrheas, it means the dog hasn't absorbed the nutrients from the food well. So you find that the food also ends up as waste. So you keep everything at a balance. You make sure you don't overdo each. So guys, we are going to mix the food, and we normally do it with a spoon. Mixing it is a very simple process, just like the way you mix your food in the house. So you mix it all up so that the vitamin supplements can be fully mixed with the food. You might find that some dogs, when you serve, they tend to select the meat and leave the rice, or they tend to select the kibble and leave the kibble and the meat and they leave the rice. So mixing the whole food in general makes it harder for the dog to select the food. So it eats all the food. So as I said, we normally give 2 servings. The food is cooked once, but when the food is cooked once, the food is split. The ones that is normally feed in the morning, there's one that is normally feed in the evening. So this is the meat that we are going to feed in the evening. After the meat has remained after the first serving, I usually put the remaining meat in my bucket over here. These are usually put. So we are going to give this ghost, we are going to give this to my female over here, beautiful female over here. She's called Dinah. And then we are going to take the rest of this to the other dogs on the other side. So guys, we are going to start feeding one of my females. She's called Misty. She's an import from South Africa. She's a very nice Boerboel. She's actually the mother to my male there, my male ghost. Very nice female, nice physique. So I'm going to feed her. So that's how they normally eat. Next, we are going to feed my other female. This is a very special girl. She's 6 months old. She's a female I bought from a breeder. She's called Anita. Very nice female. Hey mama, eat mama. She is in our breeding program. I'm still trying to socialize her with my other females. As you can see, she's a bit afraid. She hasn't been in my kennel for long, but slowly I'm going to socialize her with my other female. Yeah. Next in line we have my caucasian female. She's called Cora. Right now she has shed, and most of the times whenever you see a female shedding, it's usually a signal that she's coming into heat. So she has shed. She's almost coming into heat, but her fur is growing back nicely. Don't worry, she's used to eating in her kennel. So I'm just going to put the food back in the kennel. She's 2 years old. I have only bred her once. I bred her at around 15 months, and I got a very nice litter. I'm also going to do breeding again on her this year. So she's a very nice female, and she's also in our breeding program. So guys, this is one of my females. Very nice female. She's 2 years old. She's a pure breed Boerboel. And as you can see, she's a very different type of Boerboel as compared to my male ghost. This is more of the muscular type Boerboel. So I bred her at around 15 months. She gave me a very nice litter. I was also able to rehome them. So she's also in my breeding program this year. I'm planning to breed her with ghost, and I'm also going to I'm either going to breed her with ghost, and or I may breed her with another male, because I am also looking for a shade of brindle. So I'm going to do my research well. When I get a brindle male, I'm going to use the brindle male, but when I lack the brindle male around, I'm going to use my boy ghost over there. The last litter that I did with her and ghost, and they got a very nice litter, as I said. So yeah. So guys, I would like to introduce you to my boy called Ghost. This is a 15-month-old boy. He's my own breeding. He's actually the runt of the litter that I had, and he's a very nice boy. He has a very nice height, very nice length, very nice head. I love him because he's a perfect replica of his grandfather. His bloodline is actually an import bloodline. The mother is an import, the father is an import. So that is why you can also see that his size actually says a lot about his line. So when I was selecting the line from the females, I was actually looking for more of the size in a Boerboel. So he's a perfect representation of that line. The product of that line is he's a perfect representation of that bloodline. The size at his age, the length at his age, the height at his age, he's very nice, very nice, very nice. So this is my breeding male this year. I'm going to breed him with a couple of my females, and I've only done one breeding with him, with my girl called Dinah, and they actually produced very nice puppies. And I think I'm going to either repeat the breeding, but I'm also looking for the brindle type this year. But if I miss on the brindle type, if I don't get a male which is brindle, I'm most likely to be using him in the next week. I am much more careful while feeding him because he's the type of Boerboel that gains weight a lot and very fast. So with him, mostly in feeding, I'm really very cautious with him. I don't want to feed him a lot of food that he may gain a lot of weight and become overweight, because he's still a young boy, he's still growing. A lot of the weight will actually injure his joints and his pasterns. So I try to balance on the food. Yeah. I usually have a first aid kit that I normally use for small emergencies. And in my first aid kit, I usually have a spirit, hydrogen peroxide, some antibiotics. So this is what I normally use for small emergencies and also small wounds. But when I get really big emergencies that require more expertise, I usually now alert my vet.
So for the hygiene of my dogs, cleanliness is a very important thing. So I make sure the kennels are very clean. We usually clean the kennels with soap, which is detergent, and we also put some disinfectants. And then we also make sure that the water that they drink is clean. We also make sure that their utensils are very clean before they are fed. Also, I normally wash my dogs once a week. That is normally on Sundays. I also walk my dogs. I do a lot of exercise. I walk my dogs on a daily basis every evening. And as you can see, I also have a very big compound. Exercise is very good for the dog. It exercises the dog's physique, the dog's bone, the dog's muscles. Dogs also need mental relief. When you walk your dog, you're exercising also your dog mentally. The dog becomes healthier. The dog doesn't get stressed. When you lock your dogs a lot in the kennel, your dogs may develop stress, which now develops into aggression. So you have to walk your dogs for them not to get depressed. Also, a well-exercised dog is also a very healthy dog. You get the dog doesn't get bone problems. The dog is healthy. So I do a lot of exercise for the health. I do clean food. I make sure the kennels are clean. And when I say the kennels are clean, the kennels are washed in the morning. And then at around lunchtime, I have a guy who normally does the cleaning. At around lunchtime, the guy also goes to check if the dogs have pooped. He collects the poop again. I make sure that there are no flies around, because you see, flies bring germs. So you have to make sure the place is clean, always clean, and you make sure there are no flies around that could bring diseases into your kennel. I also do grooming. As you can see, I have a Caucasian. When I wash the Caucasian, I let her dry. Then I have a comb that I normally use to comb the dog, to remove all the dead fur, to remove all the matted combs in the dog. And this actually makes the dog become healthy, because these matted combs they also cause pain to the dog. So I do comb the Caucasian after washing. So this also contributes to their health. And yeah.
So guys, I'm going to demonstrate how I normally wash my dogs, and I'm going to demonstrate with my boy over here, Ghost. So the washing process is a very simple process. The first thing I normally do is I normally wet the dog with water first. Then after there, after the dog is wet, I apply the dog detergent. I will scrub the dog well. So guys, we are going to add the shampoo. After scrubbing the dog with the shampoo, with the dog detergent, I normally rinse the dog with water that I've mixed with the medicine that kills the fleas and the ticks. I normally rinse with this water and medicine so that the medicine itself can dry on the body of the dog. So that even when I take my dogs or when I open my dogs outside, already the drug for killing the fleas is already on the body. So the ticks and the fleas will not get on the dog immediately. By rinsing the dog like that, the dog is well protected.
Okay, I do a lot of socialization. When I walk my dogs, walking is also part of socialization. Your dogs get to see the environment. Your dog gets to see other dogs. Your dog gets to see other people. So socialization, I do it mostly by walking my dogs, letting other people out there pet the dog. And socialization is very important for the dog. It reduces or it avoids certain behavioral problems like aggression and fear, which may cause the dog to actually attack the owner at times. You've heard those stories. The owner tries to control his dog, but the dog actually turns on him. So such aggression and fear issues are normally reduced by also socialization. For training, I am not so much into training. I am much more into breeding a good, well-balanced Boerboel. But for training, I have actually trained my dogs, simple trainings like the obedience training, like come, go. But I've actually trained them in Kiswahili. So it's something I started when they were puppies. All my dogs, I've trained them in Kiswahili, but it's very basic training. I don't do the higher level training. So I am much more into breeding and producing a very well-balanced Boerboel. As I said, for us, we don't do much of training. But when a client get a puppy from us and he wants the puppy to be trained, I usually have a trainer who I can connect the client to, and who comes and does the training for the client, who does all the training that the client needs, from obedience to security to sniffing, everything. Yes. In my breeding, I normally face several challenges. One of the challenges is food sourcing. Sometimes sourcing, like for example the rice, sometimes you find when you're trying to source for the rice is not available, or when it's available, it's very expensive. So it also breeds some financial challenges to access the rice and also to access the food. Accessing also the meat at times is a challenge, because at times the meat is out of stock. The other challenge that I normally face is during importation. You might import a dog, because most of the dogs that I do import are puppies. So you really don't know the condition of the dog it's in when you're importing the dog. So you get a puppy, you feed the puppy, you raise the puppy well, you feed the puppy very good food. But now when it reaches to the time of breeding, you find that the puppy is not fertile due to some issues, maybe some hormonal issues. The dog actually might get some diseases while mating, like vaginitis. These may lead to the dog becoming infertile. So you find that you've used a lot of money to import a dog. But when the dog reaches here, you feed the dog, you raise the dog very well, you feed the dog very expensive food, and the dog ends up infertile. So that is one of the challenge. So that is also one of the challenges that I normally face. So considering that you've really used a lot of money importing that dog, the dog ends up not giving you even a single puppy. Also, you might also import a dog, and the dog comes and dies. That is also another challenge. It's something that has also happened to me. I have imported a male Caucasian from Romania. It costed me a lot of money. The Caucasian came, I fed the dog, I raised the dog with very expensive food, very nice food. But when the dog reached 15 months, it happened that one day I had opened for the dog for security at night. And the dog ate very well that night. The dog slept very well. When we woke up in the morning, we found the dog dead. So we had to involve the vet. We took the dog to Kabete for post-mortem. It was actually discovered that the dog was actually poisoned. So as you can see now, I imported a dog, a very nice dog, a new bloodline, because I knew it would come to add something to the breeding program in the Caucasian industry around. But now you see the dog passed away, even when I had not even bred the dog. So that is also one of the challenges. The other challenges are also diseases, especially when you have puppies. There are so many diseases that the puppies are really vulnerable to. And one of the diseases is like parvovirus. Also, there are certain infections that the puppies might get, like bacterial infection in the stomach. So these are some diseases that may actually cost you a litter, may actually cost you puppies. And also treating the puppies also is very expensive. So you find that the puppies get sick. Calling the vet bills are very expensive. The puppies don't get well overnight, so it's a treatment that may take up to a week. So you find that you are spending money daily, because sometimes the vet also has to come daily to check on the puppies. There are certain injections that the puppies have to be given daily, depending on the diseases and also depending on the infections that they have. So diseases and infections are also a problem. So for my adult dogs, I don't experience diseases a lot, because for the adult dogs, they are more resistant to diseases and also to certain infections. And also the mature dogs are more selective on what they eat. You'll find that when you have puppies, when you open for them in your compound, they will go on eating almost everything they get. So you find that they end up eating a lot of germs and a lot of bacteria, which when they ingest, it causes some bacterial infection in the stomach, which causes the infections. So for the mature dogs, they are more selective on what they eat. So for them, I actually don't get much of a challenge. I know my dogs well. When my dogs are sick, I can be able to identify this dog is sick, because I know the behavior of each of my dogs. I know how my dogs behave. And also there are certain ways that I normally use to check if my dog is healthy. Through the eyes, you can lift the eyelid a bit when you see the white part is a bit red or is more red. You should also take note of that. You can also lift the lips, and normally the inside of the lips are supposed to be pinkish or reddish. So when you lift the inside of the lips and you find they are a bit whitish, so that should actually show you that the dog may be lacking some enough blood. You can also try and pinch the skin of the dog a bit. The skin of the dog is not supposed to be dry. It's supposed to be moist. So when you pinch the skin of the dog, it's supposed to go back to the original position as it was. So when you pinch the skin of the dog, but the skin remains in the same position, that shows you that dog is dehydrated. And the dog can only be dehydrated if it's not drinking enough water. And a dog that is not drinking enough water shows you that dog is not feeling well. So there are certain ways I normally use to check if my dogs are sick. And I only call the vet when I actually see my dogs are sick. But for the mature dogs, it's very I rarely experience such diseases. I mostly experience diseases with the puppies, but which is also very rare because I do my vaccinations on time. I make sure the place is clean. They're well sanitized. So for my deworming regime, I usually have two. There's one for the puppies and there's one for the adult dogs. So for the adult dogs, I normally deworm them once every 3 months. And I usually use, each time I deworm, I usually use a different type of dewormer. I usually do this to make sure that the worms don't get used to one type of drug. But I use drugs from very reliable sources that I normally consult my vet first. But I deworm them myself. It's a very simple procedure. You just hold the tablet with your hand and put the tablet in the dog's mouth. So for the puppies, I usually deworm them at first at 2 weeks. Then from there I do 2 weeks again after there. So I do 2 weeks, then 4 weeks, then 6 weeks, then 8 weeks, then 10 weeks, then 12 weeks. And each time I also use a different type of tablet. I usually measure the amount I'm giving the dog depending on the weight and the age of the dog. In most cases, you'll find that in the prescription of most drugs, you find that they're normally given either 1 tablet per 5 kg body weight or 1 tablet per 10 kg body weight. So you have to make sure you have to know the weight of your dogs and give it as per the weight of your dog. Do not over deworm your dog. It may bring serious problems to your dog. Even the dog might die. And also do not under deworm your dog. The worms will not die. So you'll have spent money buying the dewormers, but the worms are still there. For the vaccinations, I usually vaccinate my adult dogs. I do annually vaccination for both DHLP and rabies, and I always record them in a vaccination record. For the puppies, I do the first parvo at 6 weeks. I normally call the vets to do that. The second parvo I do 2 weeks later, which is at 8 weeks. The third vaccination I normally do is DHLP, which I normally do at around 10 weeks or 12 weeks. From there, if the puppy is going to a far place or maybe abroad, I do the DHLP at 10 weeks together with the rabies. It's important you do rabies before a dog goes, especially abroad, or maybe a place where it's maybe a bit far. And then from 12 weeks, I do a second jab of DHLP at around 6 months, as I also do a second rabies or a first rabies for the dogs for the puppies that are not going abroad or are not going far. So that is the regime that I normally use for my vaccinations. So currently I offer stud services. As you can see, I have a very nice boy over here, but to selected females. And the other service that I offer is I also do breeding. So I only offer stud service, and I also rehome very nice Boerboels. So I'm not doing training service, I'm not doing dog boarding services, I'm just doing stud service and dog breeding. So the first advice that I will give other dog lovers and dog breeders is when you are getting your dog, make sure you do proper research on whether the puppy is vaccinated. Make sure you do research on whether the dog is dewormed well. Don't get a dog that is not vaccinated. It will just come and give you disappointments. Also, in your kennel, make sure you keep proper hygiene to avoid diseases, occurrences of diseases. Make sure you walk your dogs. It's very healthy to walk your dogs for the dog physique. You'll find that a dog that is walked on a regular basis will actually live more years because it's more healthy. It's just like a person. The person who exercises lives more. Source your food from good and reliable sources, especially the meat. Get the meat from a source where they don't use chemicals on the animal. Make sure you also do vaccinations well on time, do socialization well, to avoid aggression, to avoid fear. So my final remarks, I would like to tell my fellow dog lovers and also my fellow dog breeders to try the Boerboel. The Boerboel is a very nice breed. It's a breed that is well balanced temperamentally. It's a breed that actually sourcing it is not that expensive because it's just from here in South Africa if you want to import, unlike the Caucasian that you have to source from a bit far, which is Europe and Russia. The Boerboel is a very good family dog, so don't be afraid of having a Boerboel as a family dog. Just make sure you socialize the dog. I would also like to advise my dog lovers to continue watching Dog TV Kenya. Dog TV Kenya actually exposes you to the information about dogs. If you want to start your own kennel, Dog TV Kenya is actually a very good platform to learn these skills, because dog breeding is a skill that you learn over time. It's not something that you start today and tomorrow you are good. You cannot be perfect as much as you do it, but you'll find that it's a skill that you learn over time through experiencing the challenges, through keeping dogs. You actually gain experience and you'll actually learn more about dogs. So keep watching Dog TV Kenya. Subscribe. You can follow me on my handles on Facebook. I am Maxwell Njoroge. Most of the people follow me as Maxwell Njoroge, but I also have a platform in the Facebook page called Genesis Prime Kennel. You can follow and subscribe. You can also find me on Instagram, which is Genesis Prime Kennel, and I am also on TikTok, Genesis Prime Kennel. So guys, subscribe, keep watching. If you want to see the kind of dogs that I'm going to add in future, I'm going to be adding more shades of Boerboels, bigger Boerboels, very nice Boerboels. You can continue watching. I'm also going to be adding more Caucasians. As you can see, I have one female Caucasian. I'm also going to be adding more. So guys, this year I have a very big plan for my kennel, and I am really playing. Everything goes well, and the kennel is going to grow. So guys, continue watching Dog TV Kenya, the best documentary TV in Kenya and in East Africa, and also internationally. So guys, subscribe, keep watching to learn more about dogs, and to also make friends who are also dog lovers, because Dog TV Kenya actually connect dog lovers, because like for me, I'm going to leave my number over here. So if there's any one of you dog lover who would like to contact me or who would like to talk to me, you can communicate to me through my number, which is 0721 697 533. 0721 697 533. So thank you guys.